Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair on the bridge of the USS Defiant. The ship was huge, over 2 miles long, and packed with weapons. It was humanity's first real warship designed for deep space exploration. Jake had been captain for 3 years now, and he loved his job. The bridge was busy with activity. Officers worked at their stations, checking systems and watching for any signs of trouble. The Defiant was on patrol near the edge of human space, looking for new planets and making sure everything was safe. "Captain, we're picking up something strange on the long-range sensors," said Ryan Cross, the tactical officer. He was a young man with sharp eyes and quick reflexes. "It looks like a large fleet of ships heading our way." Jake stood up and walked over to Ryan's station. "How many ships are we talking about?" "At least 50, sir. Maybe more. They're moving in perfect formation, and they're big, really big." Lisa Parker, the chief engineer, looked up from her console. She was a tough woman who knew every bolt and wire on the ship. "Captain, those ships are using technology we've never seen before. The energy readings are off the charts." Jake nodded. Slowly, this was what they had been preparing for. First contact with an alien species. He had hoped it would be peaceful, but 50 warships didn't look like a welcome party. "Amanda, open a channel to Earth Command. Let them know what's happening," Jake said to the communications officer. Amanda Torres was the best at her job, able to work with any communication system. "Already on it, Captain. But it will take 6 hours for the message to reach Earth." The alien fleet was getting closer. On the main screen, Jake could see the ships clearly now. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. The ships looked like they were made of crystal, glowing with blue and purple light. Each one was at least as big as the Defiant. "Incoming transmission, Captain," Amanda said. "It's from the alien fleet." "Put it on screen." The main screen flickered, and suddenly Jake was looking at an alien face. The creature had gray skin, large black eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. It wore what looked like a military uniform, covered in strange symbols. "I am High Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Collective," the alien said in perfect English. "You will surrender your vessel immediately and prepare for processing. Resistance is futile." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. He had trained for this moment, but it still felt strange to be talking to an alien for the first time. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Defiant. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We have no intention of surrendering." The alien's eyes widened in surprise. "You refuse our demand? This is impossible. No species has ever refused the collective." "Well, you're talking to humans now," Jake said calmly. "We don't surrender easily." High Commander Vextar looked confused and angry. "You are a primitive species with primitive weapons. We have conquered 47 star systems. Every species has submitted to our will. You will do the same." "I don't think so," Jake replied. "This is human space. You're not welcome here." The alien commander's face twisted with rage. "Then you will be destroyed. All ships, attack formation. Show these primitives the power of the collective." The transmission ended, and Jake turned to his crew. "Well, folks, looks like we're going to have our first space battle. Ryan, bring all weapons online. Lisa, I need maximum power to shields and engines. Amanda, send a message to all human colonies. Tell them we've made contact, and we're fighting." "Yes, sir," his officers replied. On the main screen, the alien fleet was spreading out into attack formation. The crystal ships began to glow brighter, charging their weapons. Jake had read reports about alien technology, but seeing it in person was different. 50 ships against one. Danny Walsh, a young engineer, said from his station. "Those aren't good odds." "Depends on how you look at it," Jake said with a smile. Ryan, what's our weapon status? All railguns are loaded and ready, Captain. Missile tubes are armed. Point defense systems are online. Good. Lisa, how are they? Shields? Kinetic barriers are at full power, sir. The new armor plating is ready to take a beating. Jake sat back in his command chair. The alien ships were almost in range now. He could see the blue glow of their weapons getting brighter. Remember, people, Jake said to his crew, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human in the galaxy. Show them what we're made of. The first alien ship fired. A beam of pure energy shot across space and hit the Defiant's shields. The ship shook, but the barriers held. More beams followed, lighting up space like a deadly fireworks show. Shields holding at 90%, Lisa reported. Those energy weapons are powerful, but our kinetic barriers are designed to absorb them. Return fire, Jake ordered. The Defiant's railguns opened up. Unlike the pretty energy beams of the aliens, human weapons were simple and brutal. Metal slugs the size of cars shot out at incredible speed, crossing the distance between the ships. In seconds, the first alien ship didn't expect the kinetic attack. The metal slug punched through its crystal hull like paper, and the ship exploded in a shower of blue sparks. Direct hit, Ryan reported with satisfaction. Their shields don't seem to work against our weapons. Good. Keep firing. Show them what human engineering can do. The battle was just beginning, but Jake could already see the surprise on the alien commander's face. The Zephyrians had expected an easy victory against a primitive species. Instead, they were facing an enemy that fought back with deadly effectiveness. The Defiant continued to fire, its weapons reaching out across space to touch the alien ships with death. Jake watched as another crystal ship exploded, then another. His crew worked with calm efficiency, as if they were running a training exercise instead of fighting for their lives. This was humanity's first real test in the galaxy, and Jake was determined to pass it. The space battle was getting worse for the Zephyrians. High Commander Vexstar watched in horror as another of his ships exploded. The humans were using weapons that his people had never seen before. Instead of energy beams, they fired solid metal at incredible speed. Commander, our shields are useless against their weapons, reported Sub-Commander Kylton from the bridge of the flagship. The kinetic projectiles pass right through our energy barriers. Vexstar could not believe what he was seeing. In over 100 battles, no enemy had ever destroyed even one of his ships. Now, in just 10 minutes, the humans had destroyed 6 crystal vessels. How is this possible? He demanded. They are primitives. Their ship is made of crude metal and chemicals. On the main screen, the human warship continued its deadly dance. The ship moved in ways that seemed impossible, spinning and diving while firing its weapons. The human captain was using tactics that no civilized species would ever attempt. Sir, they're targeting our weapon systems specifically, another officer reported. They're not trying to destroy our ships completely. They're trying to disable us. This was another shock for Vexstar. Most species tried to destroy enemy ships as quickly as possible. The humans seemed to be playing with them, picking apart their fleet piece by piece. Inside the Defiant, the crew worked with deadly calm. Captain Morrison watched the battle from his command chair, giving orders in a steady voice. His people responded like they had done this 1,000 times before. Lisa, I need more power to the forward guns, Jake said. You got it, Captain, Lisa Parker replied. She was crawling through a damaged section of the ship, fixing systems while sparks flew around her. Danny, reroute power from the backup life. Support. Danny Walsh was working in a section that had lost atmosphere. He wore a pressure suit and worked by the light of his helmet lamp. Through the hole in the hull, he could see the alien ships firing at them. No problem, Chief, Danny said. Just give me 30 seconds. Dr. Karen Mitchell, the ship's medical officer, was treating wounded crew members in the medical bay. A young woman named Beth Turner had been hurt when a console exploded. She had burns on her arms and face. "Doc, when can I get back to my station?" Beth asked. "You need to rest," Dr. Mitchell replied. "You have second-degree burns." "But the captain needs every person at their post," Beth said. Trying to sit up. This was exactly what confused the aliens. They were listening to human communications, trying to understand their enemy. What they heard made no sense. The humans were hurt, their ship was damaged, but they kept fighting like nothing was wrong. "Commander, listen to this," Sub-Commander Kyleton said. He played a recording of human voices from the battle. "Hey, Jake, remember that time we fought the pirates near Jupiter?" One voice said. "Yeah, that was fun." Another voice replied, "This is way better, though. These crystal ships are really pretty when they explode." The aliens listening to this felt a chill run through their bodies. The humans were talking about the battle like it was entertainment. They were laughing while their ship burned around them. Vextar made a decision that went against everything he believed. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance. We need to study these creatures before we continue. The Zephyrian fleet pulled back, but they kept their weapons trained on the human ship. Vextar opened a communication channel to his home world. "Supreme Council, this is High Commander Vextar. I need immediate reinforcements. The humans are not like any species we have encountered." The response came quickly. "Explain yourself, Commander." "Your fleet should have conquered them within minutes. They fight like they want to die," Vextar said. "They use primitive weapons, but they are incredibly effective. Their shields are designed to stop our energy weapons. And their crew ... double quotes." He paused, trying to find the words. "They treat battle like a game." Back on the Defiant, Captain Morrison was getting reports from all over the ship. The news was mostly good. His crew had performed perfectly, and the ship had taken surprisingly little damage. "Captain, the aliens have pulled back," Ryan Cross reported. "They're maintaining distance, but keeping their weapons locked on us." "Good. That gives us time to make repairs." "Lisa, how are we doing?" "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12 are sealed," Lisa said. "We lost some power conduits, but backup systems are online. We can keep fighting for hours if we need to." Jake nodded. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They were dirty, some were hurt, but they were all smiling. They had just fought the first space battle in human history, and they had won. "Amanda, any word from Earth Command?" "Still 4 hours before they get our message, sir. We're on our own until then." "That's fine. We've handled worse odds before." The alien commander was having a very different conversation with his crew. Officers who had never retreated from any battle were now suggesting they should call for help. "Sir, we could bring the second fleet," one officer suggested. 100 ships should be enough to destroy them." "No," Vextar said slowly. "Did you see how they fought? They were enjoying it. What kind of species enjoys being shot at?" The truth was becoming clear to the Zephyrians. They had built their empire by conquering species that valued life above all else. When faced with superior force, every species they had met chose to surrender rather than die. But humans were different. They seemed to view death as just another problem to solve. They worked in areas that would kill most aliens. They laughed at danger. They treated war like it was their natural state. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the human ship." The communications officer reported. "Put it on screen." Captain Morrison appeared on the main screen. He looked calm and professional, like he was attending a business meeting instead of commanding a warship in battle. "High Commander Vextar, this is Captain Morrison. I want to make something clear. We didn't start this fight, but we're happy to finish it. You can retreat now, but we can continue. Either way is fine with us." The alien commander stared at the human captain. There was no anger in the man's voice, no fear. Just a simple statement of fact. "You are outnumbered 52-1, Vextar said. "So far, so good," Morrison replied with a smile. "My crew is enjoying the challenge. We've never fought crystal ships before. It's educational." The transmission ended, and Vextar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear, not fear of death, but fear of something he couldn't understand. These humans were completely insane by galactic standards, and that made them incredibly dangerous. "Sir, what are your orders?" Sub-Commander Kyleton asked. Vextar looked at the human ship on his screen. It was smaller than his flagship, damaged, and alone. But somehow, it had become the most terrifying thing in the galaxy. "Prepare a message to the Supreme Council," he said quietly. "Tell them we have found something that will change everything." The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Ambassador Creathan of the Altarian Republic sat in his office reading the battle report from High Commander Vextar. He read it 3 times before he believed it. "This cannot be correct," he said to his aide. "No species has ever defeated the Zephyrians in battle." "The report includes video footage, sir," the aide replied. "Would you like to see it?" Creathan nodded, and the holographic display activated. He watched the battle in stunned silence. The human ship moved like nothing he had ever seen. It spun and twisted while firing weapons that tore through Zephyrian. Shields like they were made of paper. But what shocked him most was the audio recording of human voices during the battle. The crew was talking and laughing like they were at a party, not fighting for their lives. "Send an emergency message to all council members," Creathan ordered. "We need an immediate meeting." Across the galaxy, other species were having similar reactions. The Galactic Council had kept peace for 10,000 years through the submission protocol. When a new species was discovered, they were given a choice: join the galactic community peacefully or face overwhelming force. Until they surrendered, it had worked perfectly every time. Until now, Council leader Mordon called the emergency session from his home world. Representatives from 50 different species attended the meeting. The chamber was filled with worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. "Order! Order!" Morden called out, "We are here to discuss the human situation. General Quinter will present his analysis." General Quinter was the hegemony's top military expert. He had studied warfare for over 200 years. He activated the holographic display and began his presentation. The species called humans defeated a Zephyrian fleet using primitive kinetic weapons. He began. "Their technology is crude compared to ours. Their ship is made of metal and chemical explosives. They have no psychic abilities, no energy shields, and their bodies are extremely fragile. Then how did they win?" asked Ambassador Velinara of the Crystal Worlds. "They won through what I can only describe as organized insanity," Quinter replied. "Watch this footage." The hologram showed human crew members working while their ship was being torn apart around them. A human engineer was fixing weapons while standing in a room with no air. A medical officer was treating wounded crew members who insisted on returning to battle immediately. "They feel pain like we do," Quinter explained. "They can die from injuries that would barely hurt us, but they continue fighting anyway. They seem to view death as a minor inconvenience." The chamber fell silent. Every species in the galaxy valued life above all else. The idea of fighting when you could die was completely foreign to them. "There's more," Quinter continued. "We intercepted their communications. Listen to this." The recording played human voices from the battle. They were making jokes, sharing stories, and discussing their favorite weapons. One human actually thanked the aliens for providing good target practice. "They're insane, whispered Ambassador Morcole of the Peaceful Worlds. They must be suffering from some kind of mental illness. That's what we thought at first, Quanter said. But our analysis shows this is normal behavior for humans. They come from what we classify as a death world, a planet so dangerous that survival requires constant adaptation to violence. The hologram showed images of Earth, hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, and creatures that existed only to kill other creatures. The assembled aliens watched in horror as they learned about human history. They have been at war for their entire recorded history, Quanter explained. They have fought each other with every weapon imaginable. They have survived ice ages, meteor impacts, and diseases that would wipe out most species. Surely this is just one ship, said Ambassador Crethon. How many more could there be? Quanter's expression grew grim. Our intelligence suggests they have thousands of ships like this one. They are currently expanding into space at an alarming rate. They have colonies on dozens of worlds and are building more ships every day. The chamber erupted and frightened. Voices. Representatives were calling for military action, trade sanctions, and even hiding from the humans completely. What do we do? Asked Council Leader Mordon. We have 3 options, Quanter replied. We can attack them before they become stronger. We can try to negotiate with them, or we can hope they never find us. Attack them? Are you insane? Ambassador Velinara demanded. You just showed us they defeated the Zephyrians with 1 ship. Zephyrians were caught off guard, Quanter said. If we combine all our fleets, we might be able to destroy them. Or we might make them angry, Crethon pointed out. Did you see how they fought? They seemed to enjoy it. What happens when we give them a real war? On the other side of the galaxy, the Botanians had already made their decision. They were a peaceful plant-based species who had never fought anyone. After seeing the human battle footage, they sealed their borders and began building underground. Bunkers. The Death Worlders must never find us, their leader declared. We will hide until they destroy themselves or leave the galaxy. The warrior caste Drakmori had the opposite reaction. They were the closest thing to a military species in the galaxy, though they only fought in ritual combat. Their war chief, Grokmar, was excited by the news. Finally, a worthy enemy. He declared, "We must prepare for battle against these humans. They will test our warriors like nothing before." But even the Drakmori were worried. Their idea of warfare was individual. Combat with honor and rules. The humans seemed to fight with entire fleets and showed no mercy to their enemies. Meanwhile, Captain Morrison and his crew were completely unaware of the panic they had caused. They continued their patrol, making repairs and filing reports. To them, the encounter with the Zephyrians was just another day at work. "Amanda, send a message to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them we encountered a hostile alien fleet and drove them off. Request instructions for further contact." "Yes, sir," Amanda replied. "Should I mention that we're probably famous across the galaxy now?" "What do you mean?" "Well, sir, we just fought the first space battle in human history. I'm betting that's going to make news." Jake shrugged. "Maybe, but we're not the first humans to fight aliens. We're just the first to do it in space. Send the message." The crew of the Defiant went back to their normal duties. They had no idea that their normal behavior had terrified half the galaxy. To them, fighting impossible odds was just part of being human. Lisa Parker was in the engine room, upgrading the weapon systems. "You know what we need?" She said to Danny Walsh, "Bigger guns. If we're going to fight more crystal ships, we need more firepower." "I was thinking the same thing," Danny replied. "Maybe we could mount some of those new plasma cannons on the outer hull." They talked about weapons, like other species talked about art or music. It was natural to them, but it would have horrified any alien listening. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humans. They didn't just fight to survive. They fought because they enjoyed it. And now they had the tools to fight among the stars. The peaceful age of the galaxy was over. The age of humanity was just beginning. Dr. Yelanara was the best xenobiologist in the galaxy. She had studied over 300 different species and helped integrate them into galactic society. The Galactic Council had given her the most important mission of her career: study the humans in secret and find out how dangerous they really were. She sat in her hidden observation ship at the edge of human space, watching and listening. Her advanced sensors could intercept human communications from light years away. What she learned in the first week made her question everything she thought she knew about intelligent life. "Computer, play the latest transmission from the human." "Ship called Defiant," she ordered. The computer obeyed, and she heard Captain Morrison's voice giving a routine report to Earth Command. "Mission log, day 12. We encountered an alien fleet and engaged in combat. Enemy casualties: 6 ships destroyed, 12 disabled. Our casualties: 3 injured, all returned to duty. Recommend upgrading weapons systems for future encounters. Doctor." Yelanara felt a chill run through her body. The human captain was talking about the battle like it was a training exercise. He mentioned destroying and disabling 18 ships like it was nothing special. "Computer, access human historical records," she commanded. The data that came back horrified her. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had weapons that could destroy entire cities. They had fought battles where millions died, and through it all, they kept making better weapons and better ways to kill each other. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No species can survive this much violence." But the evidence was right in front of her. Humans didn't just survive violence, they thrived on it. They turned warfare into an art form. They studied it, practiced it, and passed knowledge about it to their children. She intercepted a transmission from a human military academy. Young humans were learning about famous battles from their history. They studied generals like Napoleon, Alexander, and Sun Tzu like other species studied philosophers. "Computer, analyze human entertainment media," she ordered. The results were even more disturbing. Humans created movies, books, and games about war. They enjoyed watching fictional battles and reading about imaginary conflicts. Violence was entertainment for them. Dr. Yelanara sent her first report to the Galactic Council. It was marked Emergency Classification, Extreme Threat. "The humans are not just a warrior species," she wrote. "They are a species that has evolved to find pleasure in conflict. They do not fight because they must. They fight because they want to." Back on the Defiant, Lieutenant Commander Steve Brooks was analyzing the sensor data from their battle. He was the ship's intelligence officer, and he had noticed something interesting. "Captain, we're being watched," he told Morrison during their daily briefing. "By who?" Jake asked. "Unknown. There's a ship hiding about 2 light years away. It's using advanced stealth technology, but our new sensors can pick up the energy signature." "Alien? Has to be. The technology is way beyond anything we have." Jake thought about this. "Any chance it's hostile?" "Doesn't seem to be. It's just sitting there, watching us. My guess is they're studying us." "Let them watch," Jake decided. "Maybe they'll learn something useful." Steve nodded, but he didn't tell the captain about the other ships he had detected. There were at least 12 alien vessels scattered around human space, all watching and recording everything humans did. Dr. Yelanara continued her research, diving deeper into human culture. She studied their religion, their art, their philosophy, and their science. Everything she learned made the situation worse. Humans worshipped gods of war alongside gods of peace. Their art celebrated both creation and destruction. Their philosophy included concepts like necessary evil and righteous anger. Even their science was focused on understanding the universe so they could control it. Computer, access human. Space colonization records, she ordered. The data showed that humans were expanding into space at an incredible rate. They were building colonies on planets that would kill most species. They were mining asteroids, building space stations, and constructing more warships. But the most terrifying discovery was how they treated their colonies. Every human settlement was armed and ready to fight. They didn't just build cities. They built fortresses. They didn't just explore space. They conquered it. She intercepted a transmission from a human colony on a world called New Texas. The colonists were dealing with a native species that didn't want humans on their planet. Instead of leaving, the humans were negotiating from a position of strength. "We're not here to hurt you," the human negotiator said to the aliens. "But we're not leaving either. We can share this world, or we can take it. Your choice." The native species chose to share. Dr. Yelenara realized this was how humans had always operated. They offered cooperation, but they were always ready to fight if cooperation failed. Her second report to the Galactic Council was even more alarming. "The humans are not just expanding into space," she wrote. "They are preparing for war on a galactic scale. Every colony is a fortress. Every civilian is a potential soldier. They are building an empire designed for conquest." The Council's response was immediate. Ambassador Crethan sent a coded message. "How many ships do they have?" Dr. Yelenara spent 3 days gathering intelligence. The answer shocked her. Conservative estimate: 5,000 warships currently operational. Production rate: approximately 100 new ships per month. Projected fleet size in 5 years: 15,000 ships. The silence from the council lasted for hours. Finally, Council Leader Mordun sent a single word: recommendations? Dr. Yelenara had been thinking about this question for weeks. "We have 2 options," she replied. "Immediate diplomatic contact before they discover us, or prepare for the largest war in galactic history. Which do you recommend?" "Diplomacy. If we fight them now, we might win, but the cost would be enormous. If we wait, they will become too strong to defeat." The council made their decision quickly. Within hours, they were preparing their most experienced diplomat for the most important mission in galactic history. Dr. Yelenara continued her observations, but now she was looking for signs of human weakness. She found very few. Humans could be killed, but they didn't seem to fear death. They could be hurt, but they fought through pain. They could be defeated, but they always came back stronger. The only thing that seemed to stop humans was other humans. They fought among themselves as much as they fought external enemies. But when faced with an outside threat, they united quickly and effectively. She watched the Defiance crew during their daily routines. They trained constantly, always preparing for the next battle. They maintained their weapons like sacred objects. They talked about tactics and strategy like other species talked about the weather. "Computer, final analysis," she ordered. "What happens if the humans discover the galactic community before we make contact?" The computer's response was immediate. Probable outcome: human expansion into galactic space within 1 year. Estimated resistance from current galactic powers: minimal. Projected result: human dominance of known galaxy within 10 years. Dr. Yelenara sent her final report to the council. "The humans are not just dangerous," she wrote. "They are inevitable. We can work with them, or we can be conquered by them. But we cannot ignore them." The message that came back was brief. Diplomatic mission approved. Prepare for first contact. The galaxy was about to meet humanity officially. Dr. Yelenara just hoped they would survive the encounter. Ambassador Zenkai was the most experienced diplomat in the galaxy. She had negotiated peace treaties, trade agreements, and first contact protocols for over 300 years. But as her ship approached Earth, she felt more nervous than she had ever been in her life. "Are you sure about this, Ambassador?" asked her aide, a young diplomat named Corwin. "The humans might attack us on sight." "That's exactly why we need to do this," Zenkai replied. "If we wait, they will find us eventually. Better to meet them on our terms than theirs." Her ship, the Harmony, was the most advanced diplomatic vessel in the galaxy. It was designed to impress and intimidate. With shields that could withstand most weapons and communication systems that could translate any language as they entered Earth's solar system, they were immediately detected by human sensors. Within minutes, a fleet of human warships was escorting them toward Earth. "Attention, alien vessel," came a voice over the radio. "This is Admiral Pete Carson of the Earth Defense Fleet. State your intentions." Zenkai took a deep breath. "This is Ambassador Zenkai of the Galactic Council. We request permission to land on Earth for diplomatic talks." There was a long pause. Then the Admiral's voice came back, sounding surprised. "Galactic Council? Stand by while we contact our government." The human ships maintained their escort formation, but they didn't threaten the alien vessel. Zenkai was impressed. The humans were cautious, but not automatically hostile. 3 hours later, she found herself in a conference room in the United Nations building in New York. Across the table sat Admiral Carson, Chief Diplomat Helen Rodriguez, and several other human officials. "Welcome to Earth," Helen said politely. "We have to admit, we weren't expecting visitors." Zenkai studied the humans carefully. They looked relaxed and professional, but she could sense the tension beneath the surface. These were predators trying to appear peaceful. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," Zenkai replied. "I represent the Galactic Council, an organization of 50 different species that governs this part of the galaxy." 50 species? Admiral Carson asked. "How long have you been out there?" "The Council has existed for 10,000 years. We maintain peace and order throughout the galaxy." The humans exchanged glances. Helen leaned forward. "And you're here because ... Because your species has attracted attention. Your battle with the Zephyrians has caused quite a stir in the galactic community." "The crystal ships?" Admiral Carson said. "That was just a patrol encounter. Our captain did what he had to do." This was exactly what Dr. Yelanara had warned about. The humans considered their devastating victory to be routine. Zenkai chose her words carefully. "The galaxy operates under certain ... understandings. When a new species is discovered, they usually choose to join the galactic community peacefully. The Zephyrians were sent to offer you that choice." "By threatening to destroy us?" Helen asked. "The Zephyrians are not known for their diplomatic skills," Zenkai admitted. "But no species has ever refused their offer before. You are the first to fight back." "And win," Admiral Carson added with a slight smile. "Yes, and win." Zenkai paused. This has caused considerable concern among the galactic powers. They are not sure how to deal with a species that prefers fighting to surrendering. Helen laughed. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humans prefer peace to war. We want to cooperate with other species. We just don't like being threatened." "But you seem to be very good at warfare," Zenkai observed. "We've had a lot of practice," Admiral Carson said. "But we'd rather not use those skills if we don't have to." Zenkai felt a small spark of hope. Maybe the humans could be reasoned with after all. The Galactic Council would like to offer you membership. You would have access to advanced technology, trade opportunities, and protection from hostile species. "What? Would we have to give up?" Helen asked. "Nothing, really. You would need to follow galactic law and participate in council decisions. In return, you get access to knowledge from 50 different civilizations." Admiral Carson and Helen looked at each other. The offer sounded good, but they had learned to be careful about deals that seemed too good to be true. What's the catch? Admiral Carson asked. Single quotes. Kai hesitated. The other species are concerned about human military capabilities. They would feel more comfortable if you agreed to limit your expansion and weapons development. The room fell silent. Helen's expression hardened slightly. You want us to stop building ships and stop exploring space? Not stop, just slow down. And perhaps share your military technology with the Council for defensive purposes only. Admiral. Carson leaned back in his chair. Ambassador, let me make sure I understand this. You want us to give up our independence, limit our growth, and hand over our weapons. In exchange, you'll let us join your club. The benefits are substantial, Zenkai insisted. Peace, prosperity, knowledge. We already have peace, Helen said. We're building our own prosperity. And as for knowledge, we seem to be learning quite well on our own. Zenkai realized the negotiation was not going as planned. The humans were not responding like other species. They were not impressed by the offer of galactic membership. Perhaps. You don't understand, she said carefully. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are species much more powerful than the Zephyrians. You would be safer as part of the Council. How many wars has the Council fought in the last 1,000 years? Admiral Carson asked. None. We maintain peace through diplomacy and the threat of overwhelming force. And how many wars have humans fought in the last 1,000 years? Zenkai had read Dr. Yelinara's reports, approximately several hundred. And we're still here, Admiral Carson said with a smile. We'll take our chances. At that moment, Zenkai understood what the other Council members had been afraid of. The humans were not just warriors. They were successful warriors. They had survived thousands of years of constant conflict and emerged stronger each time. What do you want from us? She asked finally. Helen and Admiral Carson exchanged another look. Helen spoke first. We want to be treated as equals. We want to explore space freely. We want to trade with whoever we choose. And we want to be left alone unless we ask for help. And if other species threaten you, we'll handle it, Admiral Carson said simply. Zenkai sent an encrypted message to the Galactic Council. The response came back within an hour. Accept their terms. Do not antagonize them further. The Council agrees to your conditions, she told the humans. Welcome to the galactic community. The news spread across the galaxy within days. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council, but on their own terms. They had not given up any weapons or agreed to any limits on their expansion. That species throughout the galaxy reacted with a mixture of relief and terror. The humans were now officially part of the galactic community, but nobody was sure what that meant. On the Defiant, Captain Morrison received new orders from Earth Command. He was to take his ship to the galactic capital and serve as humanity's first official representative to the Council. Well, folks, he told his crew, looks like we're going to be diplomats now. Do we get to keep our weapons? Asked Ryan Cross. Of course, Jake replied. We're diplomats, not fools. The crew laughed. They were looking forward to seeing the galactic capital and meeting other species. But they were also ready to fight if anyone tried to hurt them. Lisa Parker was already working on upgrades to the ship's weapon systems. If we're going to represent humanity, she said, we should look our best. Dr. Yelinara watched the Defiant leave human space and head for the galactic capital. Her mission was complete, but she felt no sense of accomplishment. She had studied the humans for months, and she still didn't understand them. They were violent, but not cruel. They were warlike, but not evil. They would fight to the death for their friends and show mercy to defeated enemies. They were the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but also possibly the most honorable. as the Defiant approached the galactic capital. Representatives from 50 species prepared to meet them. Some were excited to learn from the humans. Others were terrified of what humanity might do, but all of them knew that the galaxy had changed forever. The age of peaceful expansion was over. The age of human exploration had begun. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, looking at the massive space station that served as the galactic capital. It was beautiful and impressive, home to millions of beings from across the galaxy. "Take us in, slow and steady," he ordered. "Let them get a good look at us." The Defiant moved through space with deadly grace, its weapons visible but not threatening. The ship was a symbol of humanity's new place in the galaxy, ready for peace, prepared for war. As they docked at the station, Jake reflected on how much had changed. A few months ago, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now they were members of a galactic community with thousands of species. The future was uncertain, but Jake was confident about one thing. Humanity would face whatever came next the same way they had faced everything else. Together, armed and ready for anything. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to have humans as neighbors. For better or worse, nothing would ever be the same again. The meeting room on Kepler's gate station was filled with the usual mix of alien diplomats. Captain Jake Morrison stood quietly behind Ambassador Lisa Carter, watching the other species with calm eyes. He looked like any other human, average. Height, brown hair, nothing special about him. But the way some aliens glanced at him suggested they knew something others did not. Ambassador Carter sat across from Zethkar, a large reptilian creature from the Saurian Empire. His scales were dark green and his yellow eyes showed clear anger. Next to him sat other alien representatives, the blue-skinned Altarians, the insect-like hive delegates, and the strange energy beings called quantums, who barely looked solid. "This is unacceptable," Zethkar hissed, his forked tongue flicking. "Out. The Saurian Empire needs passage through human space to reach the Outer Rim colonies. Your people control too much territory for such a young species." Lisa Carter smiled politely. "I'm sorry, but our space remains closed to military vessels. We've explained this many times. Trade ships are welcome at border stations." "Border stations," Zethkar spat. "You act like you own half the galaxy. Your species appeared only 200 years ago. How did you claim so much space so quickly?" The room became very quiet. Jake noticed how the other aliens suddenly looked uncomfortable. The quantum representative, Velinari, who usually spoke freely, stayed silent. Even the confident Altarian ambassador seemed nervous. "We settled in unclaimed territory," Carter said calmly. "The same as any species has the right to do." "Unclaimed?" Zethkar's voice rose. "That space was hunting grounds for the destroyer. Cast. What happened to them? Where did they go?" More silence. Jake saw several aliens exchange worried looks. One of the hive delegates actually backed away from the table. "The destroyer caste relocated to distant galaxies," Carter replied. "That's common knowledge, is it?" Zethkar leaned forward. "Because I've been checking records. The Void Hunters also disappeared around the same time. So did the Machine Collective. 3 of the most powerful warrior species in the galaxy. All gone when humans arrived. Quite a coincidence." Jake stepped forward slightly. He didn't say anything, but somehow his presence seemed to fill the room. Several aliens noticed and became even more nervous. "Perhaps," Velinari said quickly, "we should discuss trade agreements instead. The Quantum Collective has new energy crystals to offer." "No." Zethkar stood up, his full height impressive. "I want answers. What makes humans so special? Why does everyone treat them like they're dangerous when they're clearly primitive compared to the rest of us?" The word primitive seemed to hit the room like a physical blow. Jake's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes flickered. Carter's smile became a bit more forced. "We're not primitive," Carter said softly. "We're just different." "Different how?" Seth Carr demanded. "You have no great fleets. Your worlds are barely defended. Your technology seems basic. Yet somehow you control borders that no one challenges. Why? Because, the Altarian ambassador said quietly, some borders exist for good reasons." "What? Reasons?" Seth Carr turned to face him. "Tell me what you know." The Altarian ambassador looked terrified. I cannot. It's not my place to say." "Then whose place is it?" Seth Carr's voice was getting louder. "Why won't anyone give me straight answers about humans?" Jake finally spoke. His voice was calm and friendly, but somehow it made everyone in the room tense up. Maybe because some questions are better left unasked. "That's not an answer," Seth Carr snarled. "That's a threat." "No," Jake said, still smiling. "It's friendly advice." The way he said friendly made it sound like the most dangerous word in the galaxy. Several aliens actually moved toward the exits. "The Saurian Empire will not be intimidated by vague warnings," Seth Carr announced. "We demand passage through human space, or we will take it by force." The room went dead silent. Even the air recyclers seemed to stop working. Jake looked at Seth Carr with what might have been pity. "That would be unfortunate," he said. "Are you threatening the Saurian Empire?" Seth Carr demanded. "I'm not threatening anyone," Jake replied. "I'm just saying it would be unfortunate for everyone." Carter stood up quickly. "I think this meeting is over. Perhaps we can continue discussions another time when tempers have cooled." "No." Seth Carr slammed his clawed hand on the table. "I want answers now. What happened to the species that used to control that space? What are you hiding?" Jake walked around the table slowly. He moved like a normal human, but every alien in the room watched him like he was a loaded weapon. "We're not hiding anything," he said. "We're just being polite." "Polite about what?" Jake stopped in front of Seth Carr. Despite being much smaller, he somehow seemed to tower over the reptilian warrior. "About the fact that you really don't want to find out what happened to those other species." Seth Carr stared at him. "Is that a threat?" "It's a kindness." Jake said, "Trust me." The meeting broke up quickly after that. As the aliens filed out, Jake could hear them whispering to each other in their own languages. None of them looked happy. Seth Carr was the last to leave. At the door, he turned back to Carter and Jake. "The Saurian Empire will investigate human space," he announced, "with or without your permission." Carter sighed. "I really wish you wouldn't." "Why?" Jake answered instead. "Because once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. And some truths are harder to live with than others." After Seth Carr left, Carter looked at Jake with concern. "Think he'll actually do it?" she asked. Jake nodded sadly. "Yeah, he's got that. Look, the same one the destroyers had. Should we warn Command?" "Already did," Jake said. "They're not happy about it." "What do you think will happen?" Jake looked out the station window at the stars. "Same thing that always happens when someone pushes too hard. A galaxy gets a little smaller, and everyone pretends it was always that way." Carter shivered, even though the station wasn't cold. "I hate this job sometimes." "Yeah," Jake agreed. "Me too." Seth Carr stood in the ancient archives of the Saurian Empire, surrounded by data crystals that held thousands of years of galactic history. The old historian Crix watched him with worried eyes as he searched through record after record. "Fine. Anything interesting, Admiral?" Crix asked, his voice shaky with age. Seth Carr had been promoted after his confrontation with the humans. The Empire wanted someone who understood the human problem to lead their investigation. He pulled up another data crystal and scanned its contents. "This is strange," he muttered. "According to these records, humans first appeared on the galactic scene exactly 247 years ago. But look at this." He showed the crystal to Crix. "There are massive gaps in the historical data around that same time." Crix looked at the crystal, and his scales turned pale. "Those gaps? They've always been there, since before I started working here." "What do you mean, always?" "I mean," Crix said carefully, "that when I first became a historian 50 years ago, those gaps already existed. My teacher said they were there when he started too. It's like entire sections of history just disappeared." Zethkar felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of sections?" "War records mostly. Battle reports. Fleet movements. Anything involving the Destroyer caste, the Void Hunters, or the Machine Collective. The same 3 species that relocated when humans arrived?" Crix nodded slowly. "The same ones." Zethkar spent the next several days contacting other species across the galaxy. Each conversation was more frustrating than the last. The Altarians claimed their records were corrupted. The Hive said their memory banks had been damaged in an accident. The Quantums insisted they didn't keep historical records at all. Every species had an excuse. Every species acted nervous when he asked about early human contact. Finally, he managed to speak with an old crystalline elder named Zarmoth. The crystalline race lived for thousands of years and had excellent memories. If anyone would know the truth, it would be them. "You're asking dangerous questions, young Saurian," Zarmoth said, his crystal body pulsing with dim light. "I just want to understand why humans control so much space," Zethkar replied. "Surely that's not dangerous." "Understanding humans is always dangerous," Zarmoth said. "But I will tell you what I remember, though I wish I could forget." "What? Do you remember?" Zarmoth's light dimmed further. "I remember the Destroyer caste. Millions of ships, each one capable of destroying a planet. They ruled through fear and conquered everything in their path. I remember the Void Hunters with their reality-bending technology. I remember the Machine Collective that could build entire fleets in days. What happened to them?" "They met humans," Zarmoth said simply, and then they stopped existing." Zethkar felt confused. "You mean they were destroyed?" "No," Zarmoth said. "I mean they stopped existing. Not just their ships or their worlds. They stopped existing as if they had never been born. The galaxy simply reorganized itself around their absence." "That's impossible." "Is it?" Zarmoth asked. "Tell." Young Saurian, what do you know about the Purge Wars?" "The what? Exactly?" Zarmoth's light flickered. "You've never heard of them because they never happened. Except they did happen, and I remember them, and sometimes I wish I didn't." Zethkar felt a growing sense of dread. What were the Purge Wars? The brief period when 3 of the galaxy's most powerful species tried to invade human space. It lasted exactly 17 days. At the end of those 17 days, those species had never existed at all. But space remembered them. The galaxy is full of empty regions where their worlds used to be. Regions that all the star charts say were always empty. You're saying humans erased them from existence? I'm saying that when you threaten humans, reality itself forgets you were ever there. Zethkar left the crystalline homeworld with more questions than answers. He spent weeks traveling to different worlds, talking to anyone who would listen. The pattern was always the same. Older beings remembered things that younger ones had no knowledge of. On the water world of Aquatica, an ancient sea creature spoke in whispers about the day the stars screamed. On the desert planet Sandros, elderly nomads told stories about the time when the sky forgot how to be blue. Every story was different, but they all happened around the same time humans appeared. Back on his flagship, Zethkar called his second-in-command. Commander Rex to his quarters. "Sir," Rex said, entering the room, "how goes the investigation?" "Badly," Zethkar admitted. "I think we're dealing with something far more dangerous than we realized." "What do you mean?" Zethkar activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. "Look at this. These empty regions of space, they're all roughly the same size as the territories the Destroyer cast. Void Hunters and Machine Collective would have controlled. Maybe they really did relocate? To where?" Zethkar pointed to the edge of the galaxy. "There's nothing out there. No stars, no planets, no resources. Why would 3 powerful species give up prime territory to live in empty space?" Rex studied the display. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting they didn't relocate. I'm suggesting they were erased." "That's impossible, sir." "Is it?" Zethkar pulled up another display. "I've been analyzing communication patterns across the galaxy. Every species has the same unspoken rule. Don't ask questions about humans. Don't investigate their space. Don't even fly too close to their borders. Why? Maybe they're just being polite." "Politeness doesn't explain this level of fear," Zethkar said. "I've spoken to beings who remember species that supposedly never existed. I've found gaps in historical records that no one can explain. I've discovered that every major threat to galactic peace in the last 200 years has simply disappeared." Rex looked uncomfortable. "What do you want to do about it?" "I want to see for myself," Zethkar said. "I want to take a fleet to the edge of human space and find out what they're really hiding." "Sir, that might not be wise." "Why?" Zethkar turned to face him. "Are you afraid of humans too?" Rex was quiet for a long moment. "My grandfather served in the fleet during the early years of human contact. He told me stories before he died. Strange stories about ships that would disappear without a trace near human space. About entire fleets that would just stop existing." "What did he think was happening?" "He thought humans weren't what they appeared to be. He thought they were something else wearing human shapes." Zethkar felt a chill. "What kind of something else?" "The kind that could make the galaxy forget you ever existed." Despite his growing fear, Zethkar was determined to find answers. He began assembling a fleet under the pretense of a scientific expedition. He told the Empire's leaders he wanted to study unusual stellar phenomena near human spacedot as he prepared for the mission. He received a message from an unexpected source, Captain Jake Morrison, the human who had been at the diplomatic meeting. "Admiral Zethkar," the message began, "I hear you're planning a trip to our neighborhood. I thought you might want to know that we're aware of your investigation into galactic history. We're not angry. Curiosity is natural. But we want you to understand that some knowledge comes with a price. Once you learn certain truths, you can't unlearn them. You'll have to live with them forever. Are you sure you want to pay that price?" The message ended with coordinates for a neutral meeting point. Zethkar stared at the message for a long time. Part of him wanted to turn around and forget the whole thing. But he had come too far to stop now. He had to know the truth about humans, even if that truth was more terrifying than he could imagine. He sent a reply accepting the meeting, then gave the order to depart. As his fleet left Saurian space, he wondered if he would ever see home again. The edge of human space looked empty on the sensors. Zethkar's fleet of 30 ships hung in the void, their crews nervous despite the lack of any visible threats. They had been traveling for weeks to reach this point, and the closer they got to human territory, the stranger things became. "Sir," Commander Rex reported from the sensor station, "we're picking up unusual readings again." Zethkar looked at the display. The energy signatures made no sense. They suggested massive objects that weren't there, gravity wells that shouldn't exist, and space that seemed to bend in impossible ways. "Are the sensors malfunctioning?" he asked. "We've checked them 12 times, Rex replied. "They're working perfectly." It's the space around us that's wrong. Lieutenant Vash, the youngest officer on the bridge, spoke up nervously. Sir, the crew is getting scared. They're saying this area is cursed. Cursed by what? By whatever lives. In human space. Before Zethkar could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. A single vessel had appeared on their sensors. Small, unremarkable, clearly human in design. It was heading straight for them. 1 ship against 30, Rex muttered. Either they're incredibly brave, or incredibly stupid, or incredibly dangerous. Zethkar said quietly. The human ship came to a stop just outside weapon range. A communication request came through immediately. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Peacekeeper, a familiar voice said. Admiral Zethkar, I believe you're expecting me. Zethkar activated the communication screen. Morrison appeared. Exactly as he had during the diplomatic meeting. Average, unremarkable, with that same calm expression that somehow made everyone nervous. Captain Morrison, Zethkar said. I'm surprised to see you here. Are you? Morrison smiled. You sent a fleet to our border. That tends to get our attention. This is a scientific expedition. Is it? Morrison's smile didn't change, but something. In his eyes did. 30 military vessels, all armed, all shielded, all ready for combat. That's an interesting way to do science. Zethkar felt defensive. We have a right to explore space. Of course you do, Morrison agreed. But not this space. This space is ours. According to what law? According to the law that says we live here and you don't. A new voice joined the conversation. Jake, don't be rude to our guests. Another human appeared on the screen, a woman with blonde hair and a cheerful expression. She wore a simple science uniform and looked completely harmless. This is Dr. Amy Walsh, Morrison said. She's one of our researchers. Hello there, Walsh said brightly. I'm so excited to meet you. We don't get many visitors out here. Why? Is that? Zethkar asked. Oh, you know how it is, Walsh said. People hear stories about human space being dangerous or mysterious. Silly, really. We're just normal folks trying to live our lives. Then why won't you let us pass through? Walsh's smile flickered for just a moment. Because normal folks deserve their privacy, don't you think? Zethkar studied her carefully. Despite her friendly manner, something about her made his scales itch with unease. What kind of research do you do, Dr. Walsh? Oh, this and that, she said casually. Stellar engineering, dimensional mechanics, reality stabilization. Basic stuff, really. Rex choked on his own saliva. Stellar engineering? Sure, Walsh said. We had some stars that weren't quite in the right positions, so we moved them. No big deal. You moved stars? Well, not personally, Walsh laughed. That would be showing off. We use proper equipment for that sort of thing. Zethkar felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of equipment? The kind that works, Morrison said, his friendly tone taking on an edge. Admiral, I'm going to ask you one more time to turn. Around and go home. This is for your own good. And if I refuse? Morrison looked sad. Then Dr. Walsh will have to file a report about unauthorized visitors in human space. And when she files reports, things tend to get ... complicated. What kind of complicated? Walsh leaned forward, her cheerful expression never changing. The kind where I have to explain to Command why non-humans are so close to our worlds. Command doesn't like having to think about security issues. It makes them cranky. Are you threatening us? Oh, goodness, no, Walsh said. I'm just explaining bureaucracy. You know how it is. Paperwork leads to meetings. Meetings lead to decisions. Decisions lead to actions. It's all very boring and official. What kind of actions? Morrison answered. The kind that would make your investigation irrelevant. Sethkar felt his temper rising. I'm tired of these vague warnings. If you have something to say it clearly. All right, Morrison said. Here it is clearly. Turn around and go home. Or we'll be forced to defend ourselves. And trust me, you don't want to see how we defend ourselves. 1 ship against 30? Sethkar laughed. I like our odds. 1 ship? Walsh looked confused. Oh, you mean the Peacekeeper. That's not a warship, silly. That's just Jake's personal transport. Then what are you going to defend yourselves? With? Walsh pointed at the empty space around them. With those. Sethkar looked at his sensors. Still empty space. I don't see anything. That's because you're not looking with the right eyes, Walsh said. Jake, maybe you should show them? Morrison sighed. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this. He pressed something on his control panel. Suddenly, Sethkar's sensors exploded with contacts. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Massive ships that dwarfed anything the Saurian Empire had ever built, arranged in perfect formation around the fleet. What ... Sethkar could barely speak. Where did they come from? They were always there, Morrison said. We just stopped being polite about hiding them. Commander Rex was staring at the sensor display in horror. Sir, these readings. Some of these ships are the size of moons. The big ones are mobile construction platforms, Walsh explained helpfully. We use them to build new worlds when we need more space. The medium-sized ones are research vessels. The small ones are just patrol. Boats. Just patrol boats? Rex squeaked. The smallest one is bigger than our flagship. We like to be thorough, Walsh said. Sethkar found his voice. This is impossible. How did you hide an entire fleet? We didn't hide a fleet, Morrison said. We hid a small portion of our local defense grid. The actual fleet is back home, taking care of more important things. More important than invaders. You're not invaders, Walsh said kindly. You're just confused. Invaders are something else entirely. What happened to the real invaders? Morrison and Walsh exchanged a look. They learned not to be invaders anymore, Morrison said finally. How? Very thoroughly, Walsh said, still smiling. Sethkar stared at the massive ships surrounding his fleet. Each one could probably destroy his entire force without effort. What? Are you people? We're humans, Morrison said simply. We told you that already. Humans don't have technology like this. Humans don't move stars or build moon-sized ships. These humans do, Walsh said. Though we tried to keep it simple most of the time. People get nervous when we show off. Why are you showing us this? Because you asked, Morrison said. And because we're hoping you'll understand why we need you. To leave. Are you going to destroy us? Of course not, Walsh said, looking shocked. We're not monsters. We're just going to escort you back to neutral space and hope you'll think very carefully about what you've learned here. Morrison leaned forward. Admiral, I'm going to give you some advice. Go home. File your report. Tell your leaders the human space is well defended and leave it at that. Don't dig deeper. Don't ask more questions. Don't try to understand what you've seen here. Why not? Because the more you understand about us, the more dangerous that knowledge becomes. Not just for you, but for everyone. Sethkar felt trapped. And if I refuse to leave? Walsh's smile became somehow brighter and more terrifying. Then we'll have to be less polite about things. What does that mean? It means Dr. Walsh will have to solve the problem, Morrison said. And she's very good at solving problems. What kind of problems? The kind that stop existing after she solves them, Morrison said quietly. Sethkar looked at the massive ships surrounding his fleet, at the cheerful human woman who spoke casually about moving stars, at the ordinary-looking captain who commanded. Impossible forces. I need time to think, he said finally. Of course, Morrison said. Take all the time you need. We'll wait right here. As the communication ended, Zithkar slumped in his command chair. Everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. They weren't a young species struggling to survive. They were something else entirely, something that could hide moon-sized ships and move stars like toys, and they were asking him politely to leave. The question was, what would happen if he refused? Zethkar sat in his command chair, staring at the impossible fleet surrounding his ships. His crew was silent, their faces showing the same mixture of fear and confusion he felt. Commander Rex approached quietly. "Sir," Rex whispered, "what are your orders?" Before Zethkar could answer, new contacts appeared on the sensors. These ships were different, ancient, crystalline, pulsing with strange energy. They moved through space like living things, and they were heading straight for the confrontation. Unknown. Vessels. Morrison's voice came through the communication system. "Please identify yourselves." "We are the Watchers," a voice responded, sounding like wind through crystal caves. "We have observed this galaxy for millions of years. We come to witness what happens here." Dr. Walsh appeared on the screen again, but she looked different now. Her cheerful expression had been replaced by something more serious. "The Watchers," she said quietly. "I was wondering when you would show up." "You know us?" the voice asked. "We know of you," Walsh replied. "Ancient observers, keepers of history. You've been watching us since we arrived." "We have," the voice confirmed. "And we believe it is time for truth." Morrison looked unhappy. "The truth isn't always helpful." "Perhaps not," the Watcher said. "But this young warrior has come seeking answers. He deserves to know what he has found." Zethkar found his voice. "What have I found?" The Watcher's ship moved closer. "You have found the exiles." "Exiles from where?" "From reality itself," the Watcher said. "Admiral Zethkar, the beings you call humans are not native to this universe. They were banished here after a war that nearly destroyed all existence." Walsh sighed. "This is why we prefer to keep things simple." "What kind of war?" Zethkar asked. "A war between gods," the Watcher replied. "Between beings who could reshape reality with their thoughts. The humans lost, but not because they were weaker. They lost because they chose to lose." "Why would they choose to lose?" Morrison answered. "Because we realized the war would destroy everything we were trying to protect. So you surrendered?" "We surrendered," Walsh said, "and accepted exile to this dimension. We agreed to limit ourselves, to pretend to be a normal species, to never use our full capabilities. But you just showed me ships the size of moons." "Those aren't ships," Morrison said quietly. "Those are thoughts. Solid thoughts. We think them into existence when we need them." Zethkar felt his world falling apart. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Walsh asked. "Have you ever wondered why human space looks so empty on long-range sensors? It's because we keep our thoughts folded up small when we're not using them. The whole region is full of potential. Ships that could exist, weapons that could be built, defenses that could be activated. The three species that disappeared," Zethkar said suddenly. "The Destroyer caste, the Void Hunters, the Machine Collective. What really happened to them?" the Watcher answered. "They attacked human worlds. They threatened human children. The humans ... responded. How?" "They thought them out of existence," Walsh said sadly. "Not destroyed, not killed, simply edited out of reality. Made it so they never existed at all." "But I remember them," Zethkar protested. "Others remember them too." "Some memories are harder to erase than others," Morrison said. "Especially for beings like the Watchers, who exist partially outside normal time. But for most of the galaxy, those species never existed. Why? Because, Walsh said, when you threaten a human child, we stop being nice about our self-imposed limitations. Zethkar felt sick. You're monsters. No, the Watcher said firmly. They are the opposite of monsters. They are beings of such power that they voluntarily imprison themselves to protect lesser species. They could rule the galaxy as gods, but instead they pretend to be normal people. Why? Morrison looked tired. Because we love you. All of you. Every species in the galaxy. We love your cultures, your art, your unique ways of seeing the universe. We want you to exist and grow and become everything you can be. So you hide. Your true nature? We hide our true nature, Walsh confirmed. Because if we didn't, your species would either worship us or try to destroy us. Either way, you'd never become who you're meant to be. What are you meant to be? We're meant to be guardians, Morrison said, protectors of reality itself. But we can only do that job if we stay hidden, if we let you believe we're just another species struggling to survive. Zethkar thought about this. The diplomatic meetings, the trade negotiations, the way you act so polite and reasonable, ... All of it is an act, Walsh said. A very careful act designed to keep the galaxy stable and peaceful. We could solve every problem you face in minutes, but then you'd never learn to solve them yourselves. And if someone threatens that stability, then we stop acting, Morrison said simply. Like with the 3 species that disappeared? Like with the 3 species that decided genocide was acceptable, Walsh corrected. They weren't just conquered, Admiral. They were going to destroy entire worlds full of innocent people. We couldn't allow that, so you erased them from existence. We protected the innocent, Morrison said. The method was unfortunate, but necessary. The Watcher's voice filled the silence. Admiral Zethkar, you now understand why the galaxy's borders stop at human space. It is not because humans are territorial. It is because they are protecting everyone else from themselves. From themselves? From what they could become if they stopped limiting their power, Walsh explained. Every human child learns from birth to suppress their natural abilities. We teach them to think small, to act normal, to never use their full potential. What happens if they do use their full potential? Reality reshapes itself around them, Morrison said. Stars move. Gravity changes. The laws of physics become suggestions instead of rules. And if many humans did this at once, the universe would end, the Watcher said bluntly. Not destroyed, transformed into something else entirely. Something that might not be able to support life as you know it. Zethkar stared at the humans on his screen. They looked so normal, so harmless. How do you live with that kind of power? Very carefully, Walsh said. With constant vigilance, with endless practice at being less than we are. And if I tell others what I've learned, then you'll have to live with the knowledge that you've made the galaxy a more dangerous place, Morrison said. Because once people know the truth about us, they'll either want to use us or destroy us. Either way, the peaceful balance we've maintained will be broken. What happens then? Then we stop pretending to be normal, Walsh said. We stop limiting ourselves. We become what we really are. And what's that? The things that gods have. Nightmares about, Morrison said quietly. The Watcher's voice was sad. This is why we came to witness, Admiral. You have asked the questions that could not be unanswered. You have learned the truth that will change everything. What truth? That the galaxy exists in peace, not because it is protected by laws or treaties or military might, the Watcher said. It exists in peace because beings of infinite power choose every day to be kind instead of terrible. Zethkar felt the weight of this knowledge crushing down on him. What am I supposed to do with this information? That, Morrison said, is entirely up to you. Can I just ... forget it? No, Walsh said gently. Knowledge like this doesn't go away. It becomes part of who you are. The question is, what kind of person will you choose to be now that you know? Zethkar looked around at his fleet, at the massive thought ships surrounding them, at the ancient watchers who had come to observe this moment of truth. "You're giving me a choice," he said finally. "We're giving you the same choice we give everyone," Morrison replied. "The choice to live in a peaceful galaxy where species work together and solve problems through cooperation. Or the choice to live in a galaxy where power determines everything. And if I choose the second option, then you'll discover that we have more power than anyone else," Walsh said simply, "and that we really don't want to use it. But you will if you have to." "We will if we have to," Morrison confirmed. "Just like we did with the others." Zethkar thought about the empty regions of space where entire civilizations used to exist. "How many species have you edited?" "Fewer than you might think," a watcher said. "More than they wished. In 4 million years of observation, we have seen them act only 12 times. Each time, an entire species had chosen to become a threat to all other life. 12 species, gone forever. 12 species that chose extinction over coexistence," Walsh corrected. "They always have a choice, Admiral. We always give them a choice. What choice are you giving me?" Morrison leaned forward. "Go home. Tell your leaders that human space is well defended and should be left alone. Continue to live in a galaxy where species trade with each other, share knowledge, and solve disputes through diplomacy. And the other choice? Try to conquer us," Walsh said. "Try to study us. Try to use what you've learned here to gain power over other species. Force us to become something we don't want to be. What would that make you?" "Honest," Morrison said sadly. "We'd stop pretending to be weak. We'd stop hiding our capabilities. We'd rule the galaxy openly instead of protecting it secretly. And that would be bad?" "It would be terrible," the Watcher said, "because beings with unlimited power can unlimited responsibility eventually stop seeing other species as equals. They start seeing them as children to be protected." 3 weeks had passed since Zethkar returned to Saurian space. He sat in his private quarters aboard his flagship, staring at a blank report screen. The cursor blinked at him, waiting for words that could change the entire galaxy. Commander Rex knocked on his door. "Sir, the High Council is asking for your report on the human expedition." "Tell them I need more time," Zethkar said. "Sir, it's been 3 weeks. They're getting impatient." Zethkar sighed. "How impatient?" "They're threatening to court-martial you for failure to file mission reports." "Let them." Zethkar turned away from the screen. "Some things are more important than following orders." Rex entered the room and closed the door behind him. "Admiral, what happened out there? The crew won't talk about it. They act like they saw something that scared them beyond words." "They did. What did you find?" Zethkar looked at his old friend. Rex had served with him for 15 years. They had fought battles together, survived impossible odds, shared victories and defeats. If anyone deserved the truth, it was Rex. "I found out why the galaxy's borders stop at human space," he said finally. And I wish I hadn't." Rex sat down across from him. "That bad? That complicated?" Zethkar corrected. "Rex, what would you do if you discovered that everything you thought you knew about the galaxy was wrong? That the balance of power, the peace we enjoy, the very reason we exist. What if all of it depended on something impossible?" "I'd probably want to know what that something was." Zethkar smiled sadly. "No, you wouldn't. Trust me on this." A message alert chimed on his communication system. The sender was Captain Jake Morrison. "Sir," Rex said, reading the display. "Isn't that the human diplomat?" "He's more than that," Zethkar said, opening the message. Morrison's face appeared on the screen, looking as calm and ordinary as ever. Admiral Zethkar, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to check in and see how you're handling things. Captain Morrison, Zethkar replied. I'm adjusting. I know it's difficult. Learning the truth about us usually is. Have you decided what? You're going to tell your superiors? I'm still thinking about it, Morrison nodded. Take your time. But remember, once you share what you learned, you can't take it back. The galaxy will change, one way or another. And you're okay with that? We're okay with whatever choice you make, Morrison said, as long as you understand the consequences. What if I tell them everything? What if I reveal that humans are exiled gods pretending to be a normal species? Morrison was quiet for a moment. Then the galaxy will have to decide what to do with that information. Some species will try to worship us. Others will try to destroy us. A few might try to use us. And what will you do? What we've always done, Morrison said. Protect the innocent and try to maintain peace. But it will be much harder to do quietly. You'd reveal your true power? If we had to, Morrison said, but we'd rather not. Open rule by gods tends to stunt the growth of other species. You stop trying to solve your own problems when you know someone else can do it for you. Rex was staring at the screen in confusion. Sir, what is he talking about? Things you're better off not knowing, Zethkar said. Morrison heard this and smiled. Commander Rex, isn't it? You served in the border conflicts with the Hive Collective. Yes, sir, Rex replied, surprised to be recognized. Your tactical report on Hive weaknesses helped end that war 6 months early. Probably saved millions of lives. How do you know about that report? It was classified. We know about a lot of things, Morrison said. We've been watching the galaxy for a long time, learning about different species, understanding their strengths and weaknesses. Why? So we can protect them better, Morrison said simply. Hard to keep people safe if you don't understand them. Rex looked at Zethkar. Sir, what aren't you telling me? Before Zethkar could answer, another message came through. This one was from the Saurian High Council, marked urgent. Admiral Zethkar, the council leader's voice was stern. You will report to the home world immediately for debriefing. Your failure to file reports has been noted. You have 48 hours to comply. Morrison saw Zethkar's expression. They're pressuring you. They want answers. And you have to decide which answers to give them. Zethkar made up his mind. Captain Morrison, I need to ask you something. Go. Ahead. If I tell my people the truth about humans, if I explain what you really are and what you've done to maintain galactic peace, will you hurt them for knowing? Morrison looked genuinely shocked. Hurt them? Admiral, we don't hurt people for learning the truth. We hurt people for trying to use that truth to harm others. What's the difference? Knowledge itself isn't dangerous. Morrison explained. It's what you do with knowledge that matters. If your people learn about us and decide to leave us alone, nothing changes. If they learn about us and decide to try to conquer the galaxy using our power, then we have a problem. And if they decide to worship you, then we'd have to have some very uncomfortable conversations about independence and self-reliance, Morrison said. But we wouldn't hurt anyone. Rex spoke up. Sir, I'm completely lost. What power? What truth? What are you two talking about? Zethkar looked at his friend, then at Morrison on the screen. Rex, how much do you trust me? With my life, sir. Then trust me when I tell you that some knowledge is dangerous. Not because it's evil, but because it changes how you see everything. Do you want me to leave? No, Zethkar said after a moment. Stay. You're going to learn about this eventually anyway. He turned back to Morrison. Captain, I'm going to tell them everything. The Council, my crew, probably the entire Empire eventually. They deserve to know what kind of galaxy they're living in. Morrison nodded. I understand. We're not happy about it, but we understand. Will there be consequences? There are always consequences, Morrison said, but not the kind you're worried about. We won't retaliate against the Saurian Empire for learning the truth. Then, what consequences? The galaxy will become more complicated, Morrison said. Other species will want to know why the Saurians get special information. Some will demand the same knowledge. Others will try to use what you reveal to justify their own actions. And you'll have to deal with all of that. We'll adapt, Morrison said. We always do. The communication ended, leaving Zethkar alone with Rex and the weight of his decision. Sir, Rex said quietly, are you going to tell me what this is about? Zethkar activated his report screen and began typing. Rex, remember when you were young and you thought adults had all the answers? Yes, sir. And remember how disappointed you were when you grew up and realized they were just making it up as they went along? Yes, sir. Well, Zethkar said, imagine finding out that some adults actually do have all the answers. They're just pretending they don't, because they think it's better for everyone that way. That would be ... unsettling. Very unsettling, Zethkar agreed, but also kind of wonderful. He finished typing his report and sent it to the High Council. It contained everything, the massive ships that appeared from nowhere, the casual talk of moving stars and reshaping reality, the revelation that humans were exiled gods maintaining galactic peace through self-imposed limitation. What happens? Now, Rex asked. Now the galaxy gets more interesting, Zethkar said, and probably more dangerous. Do you regret learning the truth? Zethkar thought about Captain Morrison's tired eyes, about Dr. Walsh's forced cheerfulness, about the enormous burden of power that humans carried every day. No, he said finally. I don't regret it. The truth is always better than comfortable. Lies, even when it's terrifying. And if the humans decide they don't like what you've done, then we'll deal with whatever comes next, Zethkar said. But at least we'll deal with it honestly. 6 months later, the Galactic Council held its first emergency session in 50 years. Representatives from every major species gathered to discuss the human question that Zethkar's report had raised. Some species demanded that humans reveal their full capabilities. Others insisted they should be left alone. A few suggested trying to learn from them. The debates raged for weeks. In the end, they reached a compromise. Humans would be invited to participate more openly in galactic affairs, but their territory would remain off limits. Trade would continue as before, but with new protocols for interaction. Captain Morrison attended the final session as humanity's representative. He looked exactly the same as always, ordinary, unremarkable, friendly. The human government appreciates the Council's understanding, he said. We look forward to continued cooperation with all species. Will you be revealing more about your true capabilities? The Altarian representative asked. We'll reveal what we need to reveal when we need to reveal it, Morrison replied, just like always. And the ships Admiral Zethkar reported seeing? Training exercises, Morrison said. With a straight face, we like to be prepared for emergencies. Some representatives laughed. Others looked skeptical. Most just looked relieved that the humans were still acting normal. After the session ended, Zethkar approached Morrison in the corridor. Captain, he said, thank you. For what? For not making me disappear when I revealed your secret. Morrison smiled. Admiral, disappearing people for telling the truth isn't very human of us. Besides, you told the truth responsibly. You could have caused panic or started wars, but you chose to work within the system. What?